Hello, I'm Nate. I'm 25 and I live with my mother in a humble small cottage just outside of town. Nothing fancy. I crash in the small back room that was once the guest room. Yeah, it's not exactly making it, but I'm not ashamed of it either. I never attended college. School was never really my thing. I work anywhere I can, most of them construction sites. Some professions, such as roofing or moving people's belongings, pay cash. No commitments or perks, just enough to keep me going. Some people believe I am wasting my life. Maybe I am, but for now I like simplicity. There are no schedules, nobody breathing down my neck. I live day to day, and for the most part I'm fine with that. My mother not so much. She's been on my case a lot recently, telling me that I need to plan my future, settle down, find a wife and start a family. She desires grandkids more than anything. Says I need to grow up and stop pretending life is a vacation. We occasionally argue, but I try not to push back. I know she means well. Still hearing the same speech every other day is taxing. Anyway, around a year ago, my mother made a new friend. Her name is Elise. She's not one of those lifetime friends from back in the day. They met at a community gathering and hit it off. Elise has been coming over for coffee many times per week since then. She's almost 10 years younger than my mom. So if my mother is 50, Elise is probably 35. She looks great for her age, very good. At first I paid little attention to her. Sure, she's lovely, elegant, confident, and always dressed perfectly, but she was still only my mother's friend. And every time she came over, I could hear them talking in the kitchen. My mother is complaining about me, saying I have no plan and don't care about my future. Elise always agreed. He is a good kid, but he needs guidance. He can't continue to live like this forever. Blah, blah, blah. I would roll my eyes and turn on my headphones. However, tonight was different. I was lying in bed going through my phone, killing time. My work at the warehouse finished early and I had no plans. It was quiet. Mom was sleeping. The lights were off. All I could hear was the buzz of the ceiling fan. Then my phone vibrated. Notification from a person I had never messaged before, Elise. My initial thought was, why is she texting me? Maybe something about my mother. Perhaps something serious. I opened it. It was a photograph. At first glance, there wasn't anything explicit. She was standing in front of a mirror, her hair somewhat undone, and wearing a silky robe. However, the way the robe clung to her curves and the way she stared at the camera, not smiling or goofy, was intentional and intimate. It was energetic, the type of energy that causes your chest to constrict for a second. And the caption, only 4 words, "This is between us." I froze. I wasn't sure what to think. Was this some sort of mistake? Perhaps she intended to send it to someone else. Was this real? I stared at it for a long time, then locked my phone and opened it again. Still there, still Elise. That photo remains unchanged. That is still the line. I wasn't sure what to do, but I wasn't angry. I had no discomfort. If I'm honest, I was interested. Elise was not a random stranger. I knew her. She had been in our kitchen, sitting opposite from me. She laughed at my jokes. She complimented my tattoos. And yes, I noticed her staring at me a couple times when she thought I wasn't paying attention. So I replied in a single line, "Did you intend to email this to me?" She reacted almost immediately. "Yes, and I am not sorry." I leaned back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. My heart was pumping, not from fear, but from adrenaline. This was something. I wasn't sure what, but I wanted to find out. I responded again, "I won't say if you don't." 3 dots appeared while typing, followed by another photo, then another. Each one is a little bolder than the last. Still classy, but they were meant for me. I didn't get much sleep that night. Not because I was overthinking. I wasn't the kind to overthink things, but I felt like the rules had recently altered. Something shifted. A line had been crossed, and I didn't know what the morning would bring. But I knew one thing for certain: Elise wasn't just my mother's buddy anymore. The following morning was unpleasant. Not because anything had occurred, not really, but because of what may happen now. I awoke feeling as if I had passed through an invisible doorway and nothing around me had changed. But everything did. I tried to act normally. I put on an old t-shirt, prepared some toast, and drank coffee directly from the mug, as I normally do. Mom was already up at the table browsing through her phone and moaning about her neighbor's dog barking again. She did not mention Elise. She did not announce she was coming by. I didn't inquire, but at around 11 a.m., the doorbell rang and there she was. Elise walked in as if nothing had changed, as if she hadn't emailed me the photographs the night before. She wore tight trousers, a loose cream-colored sweater, and minimal makeup, just enough to appear natural. She kissed my mother on the cheek, handed her a box of pastries, and entered the kitchen as if she had always lived there. I was sitting on the couch pretending to surf through job postings on my phone when she looked over at me. Our eyes met. There was that expression, not the normal courteous smile or friendly nod. Her eyes remained keen and gentle at the same time. She tilted her head slightly and lifted one corner of her mouth. It barely took 2 seconds, yet it conveyed everything. I nodded once, just enough to let her know I saw it. They talked in the kitchen for almost 30 minutes. I could hear the usual, my mother ranting about how I waste my 20s and how I just drift through life without a plan. Elise did what she always did, nodded in the appropriate places, added a few hums, and even said, "He's a good kid though," as she always did. The screenplay remained the same, but it now felt like a performance, as if we were both involved in something my mother was unaware of. Then something happened. Mom's telephone rang. She stared at the screen and grumbled. "It's the pharmacy," she responded, rising up. "They messed up my prescription again." She grabbed her keys. "I'll be there in 5 minutes tops. Do not let the coffee burn." She was out the door before I could answer. Now it was just me and Elise. The kitchen remained silent. I got up and walked in gently. She leaned against the counter, arms folded, sipping her coffee as if it were just another Saturday. So, breaking the stillness, I asked, "What was that about last night?" She stared at me calmly with no guilt in her eyes. "What do you believe it was about?" "I don't know," and I shrugged. "You tell me, was it a mistake?" "No, just like that, no doubt or shame." "You're my mother's buddy," I explained. "You come here all the time. You listen to her talk about how I'm squandering my life." Elise looked down briefly before returning her gaze to me. "Do you think I believe all that?" I didn't say anything, only glanced at her. She moved closer. "Nate, I tell her exactly what she wants to hear. That's what friends do sometimes, especially when they don't want to disagree. But I've actually seen you. You are not lazy. You are simply free, and that worries people." I blinked, honestly unsure of what to say. I finally replied, "You sent me photos." "Yes, and I do not regret it." "Why me?" She smiled, this kind of sorrowful, vulnerable smile that made her appear younger. "Because you see me as a person, not as someone who squandered her shot at a perfect life. You make me feel visible and alive." I could not lie. That triggered something in me. There was a prolonged pause. Neither of us moved. Then I asked, "What now?" She peered around as if to ensure that the coast was still clear. Then she leaned in just enough to reduce her voice to a whisper. "Meet me tonight at 9 h. Walk with me." "Where? Does it matter?" I shook my head. Before my mother returned, Elise was already in her car, driving out of the driveway with a wave and a smile as if nothing had happened. My mother returned a few minutes later, still blasting the pharmacist under her breath, totally ignorant. But I could not quit thinking about Elise. All day, my head was firing in 100 different directions. I kept checking the clock and counting the hours. Part of me still couldn't believe this was true, that someone her age, confident and beautiful, would want to spend time with someone like me. But she did. 9:00 couldn't arrive quickly enough. At 8:56 p.m., I stood in front of our hallway mirror, pretending I didn't care how I appeared. I changed shirts 3 times and finally settled on a plain black one that didn't appear like I tried too hard, but yet fit perfectly. I put on a jacket, brushed my hand over my hair once, and walked out the door without telling my mother where I was going. She was watching a culinary show in the living room, barely looking up. It was one of those early spring nights, cool enough to see your breath if you stayed still long enough. The air smelled like fresh pavement and distant firewood. I went to the corner of our street and waited. Elise arrived precisely on time. Her car, a black SUV, came to a stop and the passenger window rolled down. She grinned as she leaned slightly toward me from the driver's seat. "Get inside." No makeup this time, just her with her hair tied back a soft gray hoodie, black legging, sneakers, and a relaxed, natural feel. We didn't speak anything for the first several minutes. She drove with no music, simply the gentle hum of the tires. We ended up in a quieter, prettier neighborhood across town, replete with old trees and deserted walkways. She stopped near a little park, switched off the engine, and glanced at me. "Walk with me." I nodded. We began strolling without direction, side by side, not touching, simply moving. It felt quiet and easy. I believe we both needed it. So eventually I said, "Do you do this kind of thing often?" She smiled. "What, pick up guys half my age and to take them out on night walks?" "Yes, that's it." "No," she replied. "This is new to me, extremely new." We continued walking. Our steps were in harmony. "I didn't plan this," she explained. "I didn't just sit there thinking about texting you like that. It just happened. I watched how you interact with people, especially your mother, even when she is harsh on you, and I thought he understands. He is not playing a role like most of the men I know. He is just himself." I murmured, being myself doesn't exactly pay the bills. "Maybe not, but it's unusual and honest." I looked over at her. "You aren't what I expected either." "How is this so?" "I don't know. I guess I believed you were simply another buddy my mother talked to, baking tips, gossip from the neighborhood, and complaints about me. But now I see someone who is looking for something similar to me." She stopped walking for a moment and turned to face me. Her voice had softened now. "You're correct." She didn't say anything, she continued. "I spent most of my 20s looking for the right guy, job, and strategy. I am now 35 years old and alone. There are no children or real love in my life, only routines, coffee dates, and hollow discussions. But when I'm with you, I feel something different." We continued walking. The park lights cast a warm orange glow down the path. The breeze kicked up slightly, but I didn't feel cold. "I don't have any answers," I admitted after a while. "I am not searching for someone to fix me. I don't always know what I want." "I'm not here to fix you, Nate," she explained. "I just want to know the real you. There is no pressure or assigned roles." That's when I understood we were two people with distinct life experiences, expectations, and tales. But somehow that night we both ended up on the same route, yearning for something honest and genuine. We sat down on a bench beneath a street lamp. It was quiet and pleasant. I said, "I feel like I've known you for longer than I really have." She turned to face me. "That's because you see me, not the person I pretend to be." There was a gap and stillness between us. Then she asked, "Do you want to continue talking somewhere more private?" I didn't need to think about it. We stood up and walked back to her car. The travel to the motel was quiet but not uncomfortable. It was full of unspoken things, the possibility of respect, and perhaps even hope. She parked behind a quiet business marked with a neon vacancy sign. She shut off the engine but remained stationary. "I'm not here for a fling, Nate," she murmured without looking at me. "I want something meaningful, even if it is difficult or makes no sense." I said, "I am not here to use you. This also implies something to me." She reached for my hand, and we walked inside together. What happened that night is between us. I will not tell, and neither will she. Not because we are ashamed, but because not everything has to be shared. Some moments should remain just that, but let me say this, that night altered everything. The morning following was silent, the type of stillness that feels complete, as if everything around you is holding its breath. Elise was still asleep when I awoke. Sunlight filtered through the thin hotel drapes, hitting her shoulder warmly and softly. She appeared calm. No makeup, no filters, no acting, just her. I dressed softly, perched on the edge of the bed for a bit, just existing. I wasn't overthinking. That is not who I am yet. I felt different, as if something within me had settled or just moved. She gently opened her eyes, smiling. No discomfort, no regrets. "Hey," she murmured, her voice is still groggy. "Hello," I answered. She sat up, wrapped the blanket about her, and lay back against the pillows. "How are you feeling?" I thought for a second. "Like something real has just begun." She nodded. "This is exactly how I feel." We did not speak much after that. We just got dressed, grabbed coffee at a gas station on the way back, and drove in peaceful solitude. There were no major speeches or "what are we doing now" discussions. It was simply understood. Something between us had started. It wasn't only physical, it felt as if a door had opened, that neither of us expected to find. Back home, things returned to usual, at least on the surface. She came over for coffee 2 days later, as if nothing had occurred. My mom had no idea. Elise and I barely exchanged 2 glances during our stay, but they were more meaningful than entire talks. I received an SMS as soon as she left, still thinking about that night. I said every minute, and it became our beat. Secret texts, late-night phone calls, and minutes taken between coffee runs and errands. We weren't hiding because we were ashamed. We were hiding because we needed to. My mother trusted Elise. She liked her. She assumed Elise was a friend. If she found out the truth, it would crush her. But what we had was undeniable. It wasn't just about the attraction. It was all about connection. Real connection. I began to see Elise differently. Not just as my mother's friend, not even as a beautiful woman, but as someone with depth weaknesses, worries, and hopes that mirrored mine. I started noting how she usually checked her phone twice before speaking, as if she was terrified of saying something incorrect. I noticed she remained silent as my mother grumbled about me, but her eyes revealed a different message. One night we sat in her car outside a grocery store. She didn't even turn the engine off. "I'm not good at this," she admitted gently. "At what? This sneaking about, lying by omission, and faking." "I know," I replied. "I despise it too." She glanced at me with tired eyes. "Nate, I care about you more than I expected, and I'm tired of hiding it." I nodded. "Then let us stop hiding." She paused. "Do you want to tell her?" "I do," I replied. "We aren't doing anything wrong. Honestly, we are two grown-ups that met in a weird way. This does not make us evil people." She gazed down at her hands. "She will loathe me. Maybe at first, but the truth carries weight. Eventually it stops floating. Eventually it lands." We sat silently for a long time. Then she said it, what I believe we were both waiting for and needed to hear. "I love you." I didn't have to think about my response. "I also love you." That night I did not sleep, not out of terror, but because I was mentally running through every possible possibility about how to say it, when to say it, and how my mother would respond. But we both decided it had to happen quickly. So we'd choose a day Saturday. She'd come over for coffee as usual, but this time we would sit down and tell the truth, not for drama or shock, but for us, because hiding something real begins to seem like lying to both the world and yourself. That Saturday morning, Elise arrived as usual. She donned a pale blue top, trousers, and brought croissants. My mom chuckled and complimented her shoes. I poured coffee. As we all sat down, I could feel my hands shaking slightly. And then Elise glanced at me and I realized it was time. "Mom," I suggested, "we should talk." Saturday morning seemed like any other. Sunlight entered through the kitchen shutters in slender lines. The aroma of coffee hung in the air, and my mother was singing while arranging the table as she always did when company arrived. Elise arrived dressed in a light blue blouse, modest earrings, and jeans. She held a paper bag filled with fresh croissants, and her grin was placid yet tense, the kind of smile that conceals nervousness. I sat at the table with coffee in front of me, untouched. "Morning," my mother remarked pleasantly, receiving the bag from Elise. "I hope you brought those chocolates again." "Of course," Elise mentioned your favorite. They laughed, made small chat, and did the typical things: neighbor gossip, weekend weather, and how the supermarket had run out of eggs again. I did not say much, and neither did Elise. Our eyes met twice. My mother turned to face the counter once and then sat across from us again. It was time, so I cleared my throat. My hands were clasped beneath the table. Elise reached out and softly laid her hand on mine for a second before pulling it back. My mother didn't notice or pretended not to. "Mom," I started with a quiet but steady voice, "we need to tell you something." She looked up from her coffee. "Okay." I looked at Elise, then back at my mother. "Elise and I have been seeing each other." The room went completely silent. My mother was first unresponsive. She blinked a few times as if her brain needed a second to digest what she had just heard. Then her expression shifted gradually. Her lips opened slightly and her brows came together. Confusion followed by disbelief and finally anger. "What exactly are you talking about?" she questioned, not looking at me, but at Elise. Elise remarked gently, "We've been together for a few weeks now. It was not intended, but it is genuine." My mother raised her voice as she asked, "You have what you are dating, but it's I care about him," Elise remarked. "I truly did not mean to hurt you." My mother stood up so rapidly that her chair scraped on the floor. "I let you into my home. I trusted you. You sat here and nodded while I explained everything. And all this time you've been sleeping with my son." "It didn't start that way," I explained quickly. "It's just happened. But this isn't a fling, Mom. It is real." She turned on me immediately, her tone fierce. "She's 10 years older than you, Nate. She's my pal. Do you see how incorrect this is?" "No, I don't," I replied quietly. "She is not your childhood pal. You have known her for a year. You barely know her, and I do. I know her better than I know anyone else." My mother shook her head. "This is ridiculous. She is taking advantage of you." "She's not," I explained. "I am not some foolish kid. I know what I am doing." Elise also stood up now. "Perhaps I should go." "No," I replied. "We're not hiding anymore. You mentioned that you wanted me to grow up and take life seriously. This is me doing it." My mother snapped, "You call this serious running about with a woman who portrays your second mother?" I did not respond. Elise did not either. My mom pointed to the door. "Both of you should leave now. I cannot even look at you right now." Elise paused, but I got up. "We're going, but I need you to understand something." She stared at me with chilly eyes. "This was not anything I had planned, but I adore her, and she loves me. That is not disgusting. That is not betrayal. That's just how unexpected life is." "You think I care," she snapped. "You think I'll sit here and praise this nonsense? You are my son. I raised you better than that." I gazed at her intently, and for the first time in my life, I did not feel like a child being lectured. I felt like a man making a decision. "We are leaving," I whispered quietly. So we did. We got into Elise's car and drove silently. Not a sorrowful silence, but a heavy one filled with everything that had just happened. That night, I moved into her apartment. A week later, I carried over the remainder of my belongings. My mother didn't call. I did not expect her to. 4 months have gone on. We still live together, still laughing over morning coffee. We still text each other during the day, even while we're in the same room. It is not ideal. Nothing ever is, but it is real. My mother has not shown up. I have sent her a mail. She saw it, didn't respond. I'm hoping that one day she will understand, but if she doesn't, I'm fine with that too. This is my life and my choice, and for the first time, it feels like it belongs to me. Nate and Elise's tale shows us that true courage comes from choosing love and authenticity, even if it means suffering harsh repercussions. At 25, Nate was drifting, criticized by his mother for lack of direction. But he made an unexpected connection with Elise, a lady a decade older who noticed his genuine soul. Their friendship, initiated by a provocative photo and secretive text, blossomed into a deep love that defied expectations. When they decided to announce their connection, they confronted his mother's rage and betrayal. They stood firm, marching forth together. This story teaches us that love does not always conform to society's standards of age, expectations, or approval, and that is good. The true act of bravery is to own your truth, even if it causes pain to those you love. Nate's decision to leave his mother's house and start a life with Elise was not simply about romanticism. It was about asserting his right to a life that was really his. In a world that is quick to judge, their narrative encourages us to listen to our hearts and build connections that make us feel seen, even if the road is rough. Let us honor our own realities and those who recognize us for who we are. What did Nate and Elise's tale teach you about love and courage? Please share your opinions in the comments. I would love to hear them. If this story moved you, please subscribe and join our community to receive more genuine and inspiring stories. Let us continue to explore life's lessons. The story of Nate and Elise delivers a powerful life lesson. True courage lies in embracing your authentic self and love, even when it defies societal norms and risks painful consequences. Nate, a young man drifting through life, found an unexpected connection with Elise, a woman who saw beyond his aimlessness to his genuine heart. Their bond, sparked by a daring photo and secret texts, evolved into a profound love that challenged age differences and expectations. When they chose to reveal their relationship, they faced Nate's mother's anger and sense of betrayal, yet they stood firm, choosing honesty over secrecy. This teaches us that love doesn't always fit neatly into prescribed roles or timelines. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes demands sacrifice. Nate's decision to leave home and build a life with Elise wasn't just about romance. It was about claiming ownership of his life, proving that authenticity requires bravery to face judgment and loss. Their story resonates with anyone who's ever felt pressured to conform, reminding us to honor connections that make us feel truly seen. It's a call to live boldly even when the path is uncertain. Have you ever faced a choice between your truth and others' expectations? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If this moved you, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join our community. Let's keep celebrating the courage to live and love authentically.